don't think
You want to go fly under any bridges?
Maybe if I know it's the last flight.
Right.
Hi, I'm Dan Milliken, and this is Taking Off, and we are at historic Lunken Field near Cincinnati, Ohio. And before we meet legendary pilot Martha Lunken, I want to tell you, check out Flying Eyes, flyingeyesoptics.com. Use our discount code Taking Off, all cap, one word for 10% off. Okay, Martha Lunken, she grew up here, all sorts of history about Lunken Field, and the bridge episode, and trouble with the FAA. Let's go find out.
I don't know how to say this. I loved it. I'd wanted to fly an airplane since I was, 8 or 9 years old. And I didn't know a soul who flew. My sister's 4 years older, and we had gone to Mass downtown. And in those days, you wore a little veil and, high-heeled shoes. And so on a Sunday morning, we came through the gate. It wasn't locked. And we parked in front of this little shack over there, and went inside, and you call them the geezers. The old guys are sitting around on Sunday morning, and they looked at us like we came from Mars. And I said, we want to learn how to fly. Well, the guy managing that little operation was Hal Shevers, Sporty.
Oh, Sporties.
And he had just been fired, I think, from Cincinnati Hillicron. Anyway, a priest friend said, hey, I have an air coupe, and if you want to put gas in it and hire an instructor. So we both got our licenses in about 3 months. And then...
How old were you?
18.
So I have to say, Martha, when I called you and you asked what we were going to talk about, I said, well, you're such a legend and a example for women getting into aviation. And also let's talk about the bridge thing. And then you said, well, I'm really apprehensive, ... And I was going, oh, she don't want to talk about the bridge thing. I don't want to talk about women. So that really, really was funny to me.
People will say to me very often, well, you were a pioneer.
Right.
Well, full feathers. I wasn't a pioneer. If there was a lady down here, I remember, with a purple air coupe, and she wore a purple jumpsuit, and everybody accepted her because she was weird, but she liked airplanes. She liked to fly. So if you wanted to do it, no problem whatsoever. It just took commitment. I remember I had a friend who I first taught up with another operator on the field, and he had a problem student with a woman. I think she was kind of sweet on him. And he said, whenever I pull the power for a forced landing, she gets hysterical, and then she buries her head down and yells, you take it, you take it, you take it. So I said, let me fly with her. So we did, and the same thing happened, And I said, well, I guess we're going to crash. And eventually she got over her. I wouldn't have let us crash, but I thought, stop playing games.
So you're in the FAA, you move over to general aviation.
Right at DuPage.
And you become a safety inspector?
Yeah, I was a safety inspector for 8 years in DuPage and in Indianapolis. And the experience in the FAA in Chicago area at DuPage was dreadful. I can remember a guy coming over across the big bullpen office, and he pointed his finger and he said, you're always out for the pilot. And I thought, yeah, that's right. But it was toxic. It was toxic. So with much begging and pleading, I got a transfer to the Indianapolis office, and they were wonderful people. They were very, very wonderful people, and the operators were wonderful. Then an opening happened in this office, which was right up at the end of the airport. And my boss in Indianapolis said, are you sure you want to do that? Because the manager of the office was not so good. And I said, well, they need a safety program counselor, and I'd love to do that kind of work. I can fly around. In the late 90s, early 2000s, FAA changed the safety program. And it's no longer, personal interaction with you and pilots and mechanics. Now it's all on the computer. With too many FAA inspectors, especially new ones, the cop mentality sets in, and that's an unfortunate thing. Well, then I retired, went to Mongolia, went to China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I was a pilot examiner, and I was flying my buns off. You know, private, commercial, flight instructor, instrument flight instructor, multi-engine, in those days, ATP. And, you know, every day of the week from this airport.
Doing check rides.
And then right over there at Hangar 10, I had a Cub next door, and we sank a iron post in concrete in the ground, and I tied the tail to the post, and it had an 85 horsepower engine, cracked the throttle, pulled it through. It started with a roar, and the rope actually pulled out the metal portion in the tail, not the stake, the metal portion of the tail.
Oh.
The airplane turned out to be quite full of corrosion.
Wow.
But at some point, and I followed it out. It went out on the concrete, and I had raced around, and I'm holding on to the right strut, trying desperately to get to the throttle, desperately. And it's dragging me around for probably 3 seconds, dragged my shoes off. I tried to let it go where it would do the least bit of damage, not into signature engines.
Right.
And it went into that hangar, and it damaged the airplane inside, damaged the hangar. I always remember I said to the guys, they took me in the office, and I said, no, I'm all right, I'm all right. And they said, no, you're not all right. And finally, the fire department showed up, and this wonderful big fireman said, is she Amelia Earhart?
They found Amelia. So I guess then,
so they revoked
your
my
privileges.
Right. And that hurt, but,
Yeah.
you know. So then I was out on a sunny summer afternoon like this, just boring holes in the sky and making some landings at little private fields I knew. And as I was heading from the Wilmington area over to Hamilton, and I turned over my left shoulder and I saw the bridge. And I thought, I remember saying this, God, I have to do this one more time. And
One more time?
Or was it one time?
Or was it one time?
I don't remember.
Right.
I don't think you
You
could
want to go
lose
fly
me
under any
on it.
bridges?
Well, I don't think we should.
No, I don't think so.
I've always figured, you know, maybe if I know it's the last flight.
Right. At the age of 77, Martha Lunken decided to fly her Cessna 180 under a bridge. Before she got deeply into that story, I wanted us to get a closer look.
The old Procter & Gamble hangar was that, I don't know if you can see it yet, the one with the curved roof up at the end.
Yeah.
And that actually was built in 28 for the Aronica Manufacturing Company.
Oh, wow.
So Aronica started
Ground
here
Guard number 21, Lima Foxtrot,
with
Hangar 2 with
local
Kilo,
money
VFR to
and,
the north.
So Embry-Riddle started here.
Yes.
Sky 2 and Lima
40
Fox 1,
started
ground
here.
2
Yes.
1 left, taxi via
Aronica
Charlie
started
Alpha,
here?
cross
Yes.
5 at Charlie
And
Hold
American
short 21
Airlines?
right.
Yes.
Wow. So, Martha, you got the proverbial death penalty for your certificates from the FAA.
Yeah. Well, I got a call from the FAA. They said, did you fly under the bridge? I said, yes, I did. And they said, did you turn off your transponder? I said, no, I did not. I have been having transponder problems, and there was a lot of turbulence that day. I suspect it worked its way out of the housing. So I didn't hear anything more from them, and evidently they went and checked with some radio shops, and I don't know, a year went by. And then on my doorstep was a big box, and on top was emergency revocation.
Emergency.
A
It
year?
only took a year for them to
Yeah.
issue an emergency.
Right. So I had a lawyer in Washington. We can even appeal it all the way up to the board. In fact, there was an article in AOPA this month that talks about this. Years are going to go by, and they're finally going to support the FISDO's recommendation.
Yeah.
And so he did bring it down to 9 months. So I came up here to a little field called Waynesville, the one I was telling you about, and I took lessons in a Cub, and I soloed on the the first day of the 9th month, took a flight test for the private, and meanwhile I had taken both the private written and the instrument written, which you never want to have to do again.
The instrument you found to be a lot harder.
Challenging.
Yeah.
The first, I had taken it 65 years ago. And I went under the bridge from west to east because that's a better thing to do. The truth is, nobody driving across that bridge could possibly see. But somebody under the bridge can see.
All right, so here's the bridge right off the left.
And we'll come over it at 2,000 feet and we'll slow up so you can see what's involved in going under it.
From here, it actually looks pretty scary, but I know it's not.
No, and of course the other thing is it's summertime and the trees are all in leaf.
Oh, when you did it was, what, December or something?
No, March is the optimum time to do it.
It was real pretty.
At least that's what they tell me.
Were they harsh, too harsh, Martha?
Yes, they were. I deserved to be suspended for maybe 6 months. I don't know. They claimed it was because I turned the transponder off, and I did not turn the transponder off. But evidently there had been a rule that went through a few months before that, if you turn your transponder off, it's an automatic revocation. But you know what, Dan? As painful as it was, and God knows it was painful, but the support from people all over the world was unbelievable. So you see there's a big valley down there.
Yes, I see the valley.
Now the problem is there are power lines, yeah. So you have to be very careful to go over the power line, but then you'll see how easy it is to get under that bridge.
Oh yeah, big space from here, looking at it. That hill on the other side, and you came from this side, right?
Yeah, this side, and then just climb down. And this airplane, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's not a problem, but it's a large area. But I can so vividly remember, and it was a real prayer. I said, God, I have to do this. And he said, no. He said, okay, little girl.
Well, Martha, thanks for taking us out here.
Are you ready to go back?
I think I am, yeah.
Okay.
Martha really did butter that landing. And what a beautiful Cessna 180 built in the 50s. She has that plane immaculate. Really was a light touch. Thank you, Martha, for your time, letting me fly the plane. It was amazing, and all your stories. Don't forget our sponsors like Jerry at ClemensInsurance.net. Jerry saved me a lot of money, so check that out. MPS, Marshall Protective Services, personal protection elevated. 67 Designs, the best camera, tablet, cell phone mounts you can get for your cockpit. Z-Vision, the brightest landing and taxi lights that are out there. Colton Mortgage, ColtonTakingOff.com. Our sponsors are what enables us to bring you this content. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe, because when we hit 100,000 subscribers, Chris is going to have to jump from an airplane. So we need your help to do that. So we'll see you guys next time on Taking Off.